Welcome back to the channel. Today we are back on the world's cheapest 240SX. We just put a new head gasket in this thing in the last video, so if you've missed that, go check that out, get up to date on what's going on. Today we are going to mount the fenders, get the bumper on, and finish up a couple things here and there to get it drivable and so we can go test on it. We are approaching the first practice round of Whiskey Garage Drift Series here in like 2 weeks. I think the first one is March 3rd or 2nd? March 2nd, I believe. Make sure you come out to the track, Suica Circuit, Sandia Speedway. Come out, you can come for a ride along. If you've never been in a car, I'd love to put you in this car and you can come for a ride. So today, like I said, we're gonna get the bumper, fenders, and all this mounted. I have to build tabs off of the front roll cage to get this thing tied into the fenders because it doesn't have any. And we're gonna get the e-brake set up. We're actually gonna start with the e-brake because I don't know how it's going to work yet. I'm actually utilizing the factory handbrake with the cable and the drum shoes to slide, basically. If you aren't familiar with the project, this is my attempt at the cheapest S13 drift car that I could come up with. That motor's out of a Nissan D21 and the transmission as well, and they both have like 200 and something thousand miles on them. Let's put this thing up in the air, take a look at this e-brake setup, and hopefully we can get it working. This is a J30 differential, and obviously it didn't come in the 240s, so it has a different axle and hub assembly. Z32 knuckles and brakes, J30 differential, and we have these cable-driven emergency brakes that have a drum inside the rotor with a shoe setup. So we're going to try and utilize that as our drift brake because they're much more affordable than a hydro. Not as good, and I might stretch the cables, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. If you're familiar with the channel, you know that Yoshi is set up the same way. Yoshi is my single cab D21 drift truck. That's basically cable driven. I just welded a handle to the floor and put a pivot on it, and it just yanks the emergency brake and it slides pretty well. So I'm hoping we could duplicate this here. I think Yoshi is all drum, so the drum brakes are bigger. So that's probably gonna help him a bit more than this, as the drum brakes on this are just for the parking brake. So they're a little smaller. We might smoke them right away, but that's why we got to get this thing done, get it out on the street, and see if we can actually get this thing to lock up and be dependable. So let me get you in here, show you what's going on. So these are the cables that go back to the knuckles. It's hard to see. They tie into the drum right there, and they're just mechanical. So I need to figure out how to get them to tie into the factory bracket via the little mounting points here. So we're going to cut these loose, and we are going to start running the cable and seeing kind of where they go. And then we're gonna have to build a bracket. These cables, they're kind of long. We're gonna have to build a spacer that spaces this out from the pickup point. So we're gonna build a plate that holds these kind of back here so that they actually have the right tension on the cable. And there'll be no adjustment, which is, I guess there is no adjustment anyway. So we need some metal. And I think this is the only plate I have. I'll have to cut a piece out of this. All right, there you go. So I measured the bolts on the chassis. They're about 5.5 inches apart. We're gonna drill these holes out. I lost my snap punch, so we are reverting back to normal punch. And if you believe it, these little dinky 10 mil bolts are what hold the e-brakes in. If anything's gonna break, it's gonna be these. But if we build this right, there won't be any leverage on it. It'll be a shear point. So whatever the shear strength on this bolt is, it's probably, I don't know, a couple 100 pounds. So I think we'll be all right. But if it does fail, this is gonna be what fails. So I got this bolted up. It's hard to do holding the camera. So you can see I got the one bolt in right there, and you can actually see it's pretty good. So let me get it bolted in and then we'll measure the length. We'll have to drill the holes for these. It's pretty straightforward, right? You just gotta extend the bracket kind of thing. I got it bolted in, and I mean, it's sturdy. All that flex is the chassis flexing. So I think this will work pretty well. This one, we'll go over here. We'll have to drill 2 holes on either side. One for the little dowel that comes out, and then one for a bolt. You'll see how these go. Just like this. And bolt it in, and we should have an e-brake as long as this angle back here isn't too tight, because sometimes it'll bind up. But I think it'll be okay. We're going to lubricate these before we do this, so we have the best chance of this working. But let's drill some holes and see if it works. All right, I got to thinking, we're probably just gonna put some rib nuts in this plate. It'll be easier than welding them. So we'll use one of these little rib nut inserts, and I gotta drill this out just a little bit more. Get our insert on there. Okay. I think it should be, oh yeah. That's beautiful. So if you've never seen these before, it just mushrooms the backside to the metal. They're not ideal for some things, but for this, I think it's gonna be good. And you'll see it crimp onto the metal. Just be careful, you can break these tools. There's a little gauge here that tells you how many millimeters you're crushing it. Just don't overpower, because you will snap this tool off. All right, let's go put it in and see if these line up. Didn't even check it. I was pretty confident I did it right. We should be good. That one lines up. Put a little bit of preload on them. Then I can adjust it up top, which is probably good we have a little bit of preload on them. All right, let's drill the hole for the dowel. Get it painted, bolt it in, and then I guess we can see if it works. Or how long it works, because I know it'll work. How long is the question. So I got them all drilled out. I had to surface these just a little bit with the grinder, because of the end of this has to be flushed so that the dowel can fit inside. It shouldn't have mattered. I've got a good crimp on the backside, and it'll just torque it down, so it should be fine. If this comes out, we'll actually just weld the rib nuts to the back. Just make sure you measure like 3 or 4 times, because you don't want these holes to be off. You know, that's one thing. It's like, if you just take the time, use a punch or use a snap punch, something that can get you the drill bit in the right area, you'll have a much nicer product, and you'll be much happier. And when you go back and look at it, you'll say, God, who built that shit? Oh, yeah, that's beautiful. Whoa, that's very close to the drive shaft. Actually, I think we can just bend the bracket. These 240s, they're made of soda cans, so what we'll do is I'll hook a wrench on that and bend it away, because this is definitely gonna hit the U-joint right here. Oh, actually, oh no, it's chilling. It's nice. It's factory. So you can see they sit pretty good. Nice, just a little bit of tension, nothing crazy. We'll adjust it up top. Let's go see how it feels inside. It feels like it bottoms out. I think we need to adjust it. Oh yeah, that's tight now. Oh yeah, dude. I think we could go even tighter. Maybe a skosh. Yeah, it feels pretty loose. It's pretty slack at the end, so it shouldn't be dragging. Oh yeah, let's go slide this. Just kidding. Got more shit to work on, okay? Don't get excited. Oh. Now we got the e-brake working. I'm gonna get that bracket painted up and reinstall it. We're gonna move on to getting the fenders on. We picked up some fenders from Anthony and we need to make some brackets to get them mounted. And we probably need to bend them a little bit as they are old, a little beat up. If you're not familiar with the car, this is a tubular front end from Chair Slayer. The kit itself is actually really, really nice. It just doesn't come with the mounting hardware to put the fenders on the sides. And I also think you'll need to build a front bash bar to hold the front bumper. There are supposed to be a couple of brackets that go here. My kit didn't come with that, so we're just gonna fab up something with some 1-inch tube. While we're mounting the bumper and the fenders, we're gonna integrate the front bash bar into that construction so everything's kind of one piece. It's gonna bolt into the front of the frame rail here. I'll use the 1-inch DOM over there. So if we do hit something, it will bend the 1-inch DOM and not the frame rails. In theory, that would be nice. I'm gonna make it pretty substantial and wrap around all the way to the end of the bumpers, just in case we do collide with somebody. Sometimes it happens. Then we just need to find a hood. Still don't have a hood. If you have a hood, let me know. I need it. All right, like I said, they're not pretty. We're gonna have to bend them a little bit and I think weld them where they tore. Factory metal fenders, so we're not going with anything flashy as of yet. We're gonna get the car on track, get it to where it's set up and you can drive it well and you're confident in it. And then we'll make it pretty, paint it, wrap it. I don't know what we're gonna do, but something down the road. So we only have one bolt hole here to kind of reference where it was. We're gonna need to bend that bottom piece out and then build little tabs so that we can put some rib nuts and bolts here. And then we'll need to build something that holds the front here to the bumper. The bumper should bolt in here and make this pretty rigid. Then we'll use the bash bar to attach to the bottom of the fenders here to keep them from flapping, because that gets annoying. The intercooler piping, I think, is gonna be in the way of the mechanism for the headlights. So we'll have to figure out something there. I really don't want to move the intercooler piping. If I can avoid that, that would be nice, but we'll get a headlight in here and see kind of how this fits together. Now that we have the general idea of where the bumper is going to be placed, we can start to fab up some 1/4-inch plate to fit over the front of the frame rails. This will be secured to the front frame rail with the riv nut that was supplied with the front cage kit. Once we get those mounted up, we'll cut some 1-inch DOM at an angle to get the proper placement for the bash bar. Now that we have the bash bar brackets welded in place, we will measure the distance that they'll need to be. We'll trim them to fit right behind the bumper so that the bash bar supports the foam that is inside of the plastic bumper. There's tacked on so we can move them a little bit. Right on the money. Perfect. Let me get you in here, show you my shitty welds. Alright, so we got the first brackets mounted up. We're gonna get the 1 3/4 bar bent to the shape of the inside of the bumper. And to do that, we've got our Swag Off-Road bender here. We're going to bend the 1 3/4 to match that bumper. This bumper still has the foam in it. I'm going to use the foam to actually support the bumper from the bash bar. And where we're going to run the bar is right between the vent and the light. And it's going to be right in here. And we'll wrap it all the way back to where the fenders connect to the bumper, just in case you get into the back of somebody. You don't do much damage. You kind of just push that fender in a little bit. And I'm using the 1-inch bar for the brackets so that they'll bend a little bit, because I don't want them to bend the frame rails. That's the biggest thing here. So if you've seen the channel, you know we just got this. And she was fighting us a little bit the first time. So just making sure she works good. Looks like everything's working fine. I don't really have anything to find angles. I just cut this piece of cardboard. There's gonna be 4 bends in it. The corners, one about 2 foot in, Same thing with the corner, and then 1 to 2 foot in, and then I'll give you the correct curvature of that whole bend. Oh! It's beautiful. Check it out, people. Look at this. Oh, it's beautiful. Oh yeah. It's almost like we know what we're doing here. Alright, so we got the bar. Get out of here. Ha! Ha! Jeez. It's a good fit there, eh? So we got the bar tacked on. I knew this was going to be an issue with the headlights, the intercooler piping here. I think I might be able to retain the function of the pop-up light, but we're going to have to cut a lot of the bottom part of that headlight assembly out. I thought we were going to be able to mount the bumper to these holes here, but I'm missing, I think, the lower bracket piece. Didn't come with the kit. Maybe it was an option that I didn't see. I got this Chair Slayer kit secondhand, so I'm not 100% sure if it came with it or not. We don't have them. So these are our secondhand headlight buckets. I trimmed it out a little bit here, and it fits. I mean, you can bolt it on, but this motor is just jammed up in between this top rad support and the IC piping. You could move the intercooler out, but I really don't want to move anything closer to the crash structure because I'd rather have a up bumper and be able to run than, you know, break the intercooler and be out for the race. So I'm going to leave the intercooler where it is. I think I'm just going to cut these motors off. All right, I've been messing with this for a while now. I got the lights just hard mounted because the motors are just not going to fit. Everything's super brittle and they're all broke. So I need to figure out how to get the front end hung straight. What we're gonna do is just hang the other fender now and get it on and then bolt the bumper to the fenders with the little bolts here. Going through here, I don't know where they went because they're missing this, which that's gonna suck. But we'll figure that out, and then I'll build brackets with riv nuts on these. We'll actually put riv nuts in these before we start. I'll make a little bracket to hang it, and then we'll adjust those as we go. And then we're just gonna step back and look at it and agree that it's straight at some point. I don't know. We're gonna figure it out. I think we need to weld this one too. We'll see how much we care. That one fits pretty nice. It's pretty dinged up right there. All of your bolts from your 240 are 6mm by 1/0, and I think I have some riv nuts for these, so we can actually use the riv nuts and the factory bolts for the front assembly. So everything is a 10mm, just like every other Nissan part. So we can have ease of removal, and I have a lot of these, so it's cheap. So we do have the riv nut tool and the riv nuts for a 6mm 1/0. So we're going to get these things put in here. We're going to build some brackets so that we can secure it, and then we're going to move on to getting the bumper mounted and hopefully find a hood at some point. But yeah, just going together. All right, so we got the bumper and fenders kind of aligned. I'm just using vice grips down there to hold the bumper to the fender. Same thing over here, pair of vice grips, just holding it together. Now we're gonna fab up 2 brackets that go from these 2 riv nuts we installed to the front bumper bracket, and that should set our bumper placement. Then we can move on to putting the tabs that mount the fenders to the front cage kit, and then we should be basically done until we find a hood, which we don't have. got the bumper installed, we got the brackets built, we got everything set up. We may need to adjust this once we get the hood because we don't know how this lines up in relation to the hood because there really wasn't a good starting point. Got the fender and bumper mounted together. They fit pretty well. There is obviously some damage we're going to have to maybe fix and maybe not, I don't know. But we're going to move on to the roll bar for now. Most of the roll bars you find online are a 1.5 inch 090 wall, and I really didn't like that. So we're going to go with 1 3/4 with a 120 wall, just like the front bash bar. And we're going to get this thing built out of cardboard first because we don't have CAD. And we're going to design it, get the angles with this, and then we're going to transfer it over and bend it on the tube bender. Let's start cutting some cardboard and get this thing mocked up on the floor, and then we'll start bending some tube. I'm going to get my seating position, and wherever I sit will be the farthest back because my girlfriend will be driving this car and she has shorter legs than I. All right, let's get some scissors and we're going to start cutting some cardboard. Make this happen. Okay, and then you just do that all the way across, and then you throw it on the ground, measure your angles and your lengths, transfer it over to the tube, and start bending. And hopefully we don't bend it wrong, because it's expensive tube, man. And then if you do it right, you come up with something like this. It's not beautiful, but I bet you it comes out great. Now let's start bending some tube. All right, and after a lot of measuring, you end up with this. It's a little long on the bottom, so we're gonna trim these to length and stick it in and see how it fits. So I put it in, I test fit it, fits well, forgot to record it, painted it white, so my bad. I'm gonna get the sound deadening material all the way off, clean off all the paint, get the plates tacked in, weld them fully, and then drop in the hoop and get it welded in. And then we'll figure out the C-pillars. But I don't know yet. We're going to get this thing mounted, throw a tape measure on it, see what's going on. I don't know. I got most of the sound deadening removed, but I need to kind of see where the plates are going to go because I really don't feel like grinding a lot of paint off. So we're going to stick this in there. You want to grab that side?
Yeah.
Hold that right there. Oh yeah.
Hey everybody.
The secret hand that was helping me get the bar in.
You've seen those secret hands once before.
Homie came to help your boy. As you can see, we've got it tacked in, and I've made this brace that just bolts to the old seatbelt for the rear seat, and then it's just notched to the main hoop. I was gonna run it back farther, but this really is only like a glorified harness bar, and I'm honestly, it's built well enough that it will protect you in a rollover too. This is kind of the extent of the cage that this car will get, unless it, somehow turns into a 400 horsepower, competition car, which I don't know, it might. But for now, this is more than enough. This is going to be much, much stronger than factory. In the event of a rollover, you should be good to go. It'll have your harness bar in here. The harness bar is going to be 1 inch DOM, but I've opted to use a 3/16 wall, and that should be more than enough to hold 2 people in the car in the event of a crash. Before we get this welded in, I'm going to bend the harness bar so that we can get it painted, so that we can get it welded in as soon as we get this one done. Now we're going to get out the tube bender once again. I finally got out of my OSHA approved slippers and I got these Vans on now, so we're good to go. Gonna get this thing bent up. We're gonna bend the one side at 80 degrees and the opposing side at 80 degrees while matching the 2 angles to make sure it's straight. We will have to trim the excess off of the ends to make them fit properly. This is gonna be a little bit more difficult to install than the C-pillar brackets because it's gonna be floating, obviously, and there's no real way to mount it. And the magnets I have aren't strong enough to hold this up. This will be the most comfortable I've been welding all day. Not too shabby, huh? Oh yeah, beautiful color. Nice 3-inch wide, not gonna tear into your shoulders too much. Unless I'm driving, and it'll probably tear your shoulders off. But hey, at least you have a roll bar now. Ha! Meg's here. She's gonna hold this bar because it's heavy and I can't do it myself. It's the next day. We ran a little late on time, and your boy was tired. But we got the harnesses in. We got the harness part done. We're getting these adjusted to fit properly. I really do like these Crow harnesses. Not expensive, and they do look pretty good, and they feel great. Like, they're solid. I love the clasp. The construction's good. They don't slip at all, which is really nice. All the welds are painted. Everything's done. All we really got to do today, check the oil, make sure the fan doesn't blow up again. We're gonna check timing real quick. One more time, just one more time. And while we're driving it, I'll have the computer in the car, just so we can monitor stuff, because, you know, this makes me feel a little better. Check it out. It's making funny noises. It's making like a I don't know, like a backfire noise through the filter maybe, which would indicate timing, but I think timing, we checked timing like 100 times. All right, we just got back. We got to secure the fan shroud, but it was losing power, and it has like a jingling noise, and it almost sounds like the turbo. So I'm gonna pull the exhaust and the air filter and look at the shaft and make sure it's didn't just like explode on us. I don't know. One thing after another with this car. No way, bro. Oh no! The turbo blew up. Look, that's a fin from the turbo. Oh no. I don't know how they ended up in the air filter. I'm hoping no pieces got through. There's 2 fins right there. How many fins did we lose? 1, 2. Whew, we only lost 2 fins too, and they're right here. Wow, we got lucky there, boys. Like, if something went through there, it would have messed up all the fins, and the other fins aren't even touched. Boys and girls, that's why you don't buy cheap turbos. Well, that'll be it. I was hoping to be able to drive this thing and have it ready for next weekend, and we will, but now I have to order that turbo, but I guess that's that. At least the motor's in one piece. All right, see you on the next one.